Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this episode 3750 AN. Today's date is October 12th, 2025, and the title of the episode is China Makes a Move and Trump Counters. Countries are shifting toward gold. Now, I don't know if you know this. You're not investing. You're being used. Wall Street, Washington, the Fed, they don't care about your future. They care about control. And as they push their agenda forward, they'll take everything they can from you. Your retirement, your portfolio, your freedom, all of it. The only way to protect yourself is to stop playing their rigged game and untether your wealth from the system they control before it's too late. The simplest way, move your money into a universal asset they can't print, freeze, or devalue. That asset is gold. With Noble Gold Investments, you can roll over your retirement into real physical gold and silver. Wealth that's beyond their reach and in your hands. Go to x22gold.com right now to get your free wealth protection kit. That's x22gold.com. Noble Gold, helping you break free and take back control. Or just click the link in the description. And remember, past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private West Central Bank, the World Economic Forum, you can see that they're trying to put a lot of pressure on the economy. And just the other day, we mentioned how Jamie Dimon says there's going to be a market correction. And this is reminding me of COVID. And I think they're using the shutdown to do pretty much the same exact thing, but it's going to fail. And now, when you add China into the mix, you could see that they're trying to push something very, very hard. And they're trying to bring the economic system down, but it's not going to work because you have to remember one thing that's very, very important is that Trump and the Patriots, they are building the parallel economic system. And the parallel economic system is competing against the Federal Reserve, which is the central bank system. And every step of the way, the Federal Reserve system is going to lose because the system is based on debt. The system is based on devaluing the currency. The system doesn't benefit the people. Trump's parallel economic system benefits the people. It removes the devaluation of the currency. It removes the confiscation of wealth. It removes control and enslavement of the people. This is what they don't want. And they're going to try everything they possibly can to try to stop Trump. But in the long run, it's all going to fail. And you can see that Trump, he is now countering them. Think about it. We have the shutdown right now, which means a lot of the departments, they're not operational. One of them is the economic reporting. And we know that the Federal Reserve, they want to use the shutdown to say, listen, we can't make a decision if we should lower the rates, keep the rates, or raise the rates. We can't make any decision, so we're just going to keep the rates steady. Remember, I do believe that the Federal Reserve does not want to lower the rates. Yes, there are those individuals that are controlling the Federal Reserve, and I do believe their messages do not lower the rates. And you can see that every step of the way, Trump is now boxing them in a corner. Now, they're hoping that there's no report. This way they can use that as an excuse. But it looks like Trump, he is going to be countering this. And this is going to put the Fed in a very, very tough position. And you could see that China is trying to put a lot of pressure on the United States. And Trump has now countered China. And it looks like China is now backing off. So this is what Trump put out on Truth. He said, some very strange things are happening in China. They're becoming very hostile and sending letters to countries throughout the world that they want to impose export controls on each and every element of production having to do with rare earths and virtually anything else that they can think of. And even if it's not manufacturing in China, nobody has ever seen anything like this. But essentially, it would clog the market to make life difficult for virtually every country in the world, especially for China. We've been contacted by other countries who are extremely angry at this great trade hostility, which came out of nowhere. Our relationship with China over the past 6 months has been a very good one, thereby making this move on trade an even more surprising one. I have always felt that they've been lying in wait, and now, as usual, I've been proven right. There is no way that China would be allowed to hold the world captive. But that seems to have been their plan for quite some time, starting with magnets and other elements that they have quietly amassed into somewhat of a monopoly position. A rather sinister and hostile move, to say the least. But the U.S. has a monopoly position also, much stronger and much far-reaching than China's. I have just not chosen to use them. There was never a reason for me to do so until now. The letter sent is many pages long and details with great specificity each and every element, and they want to withhold from our nations. Things were routine or no longer routine at all. I have not spoken to President Xi because there was no reason to do so. This was a real surprise, not only for me, but to all the leaders of the free world. I was to meet President Xi in 2 weeks at APEC in South Korea, but now there seems to be no reason to do so. The Chinese letters were specifically inappropriate in that this was the day that, after 3,000 years of bedlam and fighting, there is peace in the Middle East. I wonder if that timing was coincidental. Depending on what China says about the hostile order that they have just put out, I will be forced as President of the United States of America to financially counter their move. For every element that they have been able to monopolize, we have two. I never thought it would come to this, but perhaps, as with all things, the time has come. Ultimately, through potentially painful, it will be a very good thing in the end for the USA. One of the policies that we are calculating at this moment is a massive increase of tariffs on Chinese products coming into the United States. There are many other countermeasures that are likewise under serious consideration. Thank you for your attention to this matter, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. So isn't that interesting how China, right after the peace negotiations with Gaza and Israel, they decided during the shutdown to make this move. Now, I do believe they're trying, I'm talking about the deep state players, because you have to remember, everything was supposed to be moved out to China. China was going to create the solar panels, the wind turbines. They were going to be the center of the financial world, while Europe and the United States, everything was going to be taken from that. And it looks like they're making their move, and they're going to try to push their agenda. That's what they're trying to do. And I do believe they're trying to make the markets come down. And I think this is why Jamie Dimon came out saying that it looks like there's going to be a correction in the market. Now, think about this. This is what happened during COVID. Right before COVID hit, we had George Soros come out because they just had a meeting in Davos, and he says there's going to be a market correction because the market is overheated. And then what happened? They started to sell off, and they tried to bring the market down, and it didn't work. So Trump right now, he is countering China because you have to remember, we have the leverage. We also now are creating the rare earth minerals that we're going to need. I mean, yes, Trump is putting everything into place, especially out in Alaska and many other places. And you can see that China, they are now panicking, and I do believe they're trying to make this move. So what did Trump do? He just countered what the deep state, what the central bankers are trying to do. And this is what Trump said. It has been learned that China has taken an extraordinary aggressive position on trade and sending an extremely hostile letter to the world, stating that they were going to, effective November 1st, impose large-scale export controls on virtually every product they make, and some not even made by them. This affects all countries without exemption and was obviously a plan devised by them years ago. It is absolutely unheard of in international trade and a moral disgrace in dealing with other nations. Based on the fact that China has taken this unprecedented position and speaking only for the USA and not other nations who are similarly threatened starting November 1st, 2025, or sooner, depending on any further actions or changes by China, the United States of America will impose a tariff of 100% on China over and above any tariff that they are currently paying. Also on November 1st, we'll impose export controls on any and all critical software. It is impossible to believe that China would have taken such an action, but they have, and the rest is history. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States of America. Now, think about this. He said they were planning this years ago. Was this part of their plan to bring down the economic system worldwide? Most likely, yes. Are they doing it right now during the shutdown? Absolutely, yes. You have to remember, from the very, very beginning, the central bankers, they wanted to bring down the economic system no matter what. If Trump was in office, Trump wasn't in office, it made no difference. This was part of their 16-year plan to bring us into the Great Reset. And you can see that they're making their move now during the shutdown. Now, I don't know if you know this, but gold has gone mainstream. You're seeing it everywhere. Prices are climbing. Every day, more and more Americans are catching on to the power of gold. But how do you actually take advantage of it? How do you invest in a way that's safe, simple, and built for the long run? That's where Noble Gold Investments come in. Noble Gold specialists are trained to help investors like you go from confused to confident, from wondering what's next to knowing exactly what to do. Whether you're looking to roll over an old 401k into a gold IRA, or you want physical coins and bars delivered right to to your home, Noble Gold makes the process simple, safe, and stress-free. You'll get step-by-step guidance, transparent pricing, and U.S.-based service from teams that handle over $2.5 billion in precious metal transactions. With Noble Gold Investments, protecting and growing your wealth isn't just their job, it's their commitment. Visit x22gold.com today to claim your free wealth protection kit. That is x22gold.com. Noble Gold is helping you build a stronger future, or just click the link in the description. And remember, past performance may not be indicative of future results. Investing in precious metals involves risk. Consult your financial advisor before making investment decisions. And I do believe this was done on purpose to try to shift the economic system. And you have to remember, since Trump has been creating the parallel economic system and using tariffs as a weapon to counter everything the central bank is doing, it's making it very, very difficult for the deep state players, because you have to remember, they never expected any of this. They never expected the parallel system to grow the way it's growing. They never expected Trump to use the tariffs the way he's using them. They thought they would have all the leverage when Trump came into office. And since Trump created the parallel economic system, and he can use that money to fund the government, which basically he can, as the parallel economic system becomes stronger and stronger and stronger, we don't need the Federal Reserve. We don't need to borrow the money. We have the external revenue coming into this country that can be used to fund the government. Remember, when we shift everything, there is no debt ceiling. There is no shutdown. The only reason we have this is because of the Federal Reserve. And they put it into place to convince the people that there are controls. There are no controls. It's an illusion that they have created. But since Trump has done this, what has happened? It looks like China is backing off a little bit. Because who is this going to really affect? It's going to affect them. The Kobesia letter on X put this out and said, China appears to soften their stance on recent rare earths export controls. China now says the recent change is not a full export ban. Applications that meet regulations will be approved, willing to engage in deeper dialogue, looks for global industrial and supply chain stability. Relevant impact of export controls is very limited, calls this a necessary defense action. China also added that they will take measures if the U.S. persists in raising tariffs. So now they're backing off a little bit. Doesn't mean they've backed off, but you could see that Trump's countermeasures, they are working. And as Trump continually moves forward in basically countering everything that they put into place for China, I'm talking about the central bankers, China, and everything. Because think about it. Why did they move everything over to China? Why did they specifically say, okay, China, you're going to create the rare earth minerals? Why did they place all these regulations in the United States so we can't produce rare earth minerals? This was all done on purpose. Same thing with oil. Why did they say, oh, listen, there's no oil drilling in this country? Why? Because we have to save the earth. But we could drill oil in the Middle East. We could drill oil everywhere else except here in the United States. It was done on purpose. So this way, the United States could be controlled. That's why it was done. And now you could see it is completely and utterly falling apart, because Trump, every single day, is making more and more deals with countries, and he is building manufacturing, and he's reteaching America how to build. Trump has announced a pact with Finland to build new icebreakers to expand the polar fleet. So he made this agreement with Finland to build 11 new icebreakers. And basically, they're going to teach the people here in the United States on how to do this, which means this is going to help America. Just like with everything else that Trump is doing with manufacturing. And you can see the deep state players. I do believe that they're trying to use the shutdown to try to give the Fed some type of leverage to say we cannot lower the rates. Remember, Trump wants the rates lowered because, number one, it will spur the automobile industry. It will help the real estate market and every single market that is connected to these industries and many other industries, because it's just not these two. And you could see that they're saying, well, since there's no economic report, we really can't make a decision on the economy. We're going to have to keep the rates steady. And I do believe the deep state players, the central bank, the Ds, they're going to try to keep the shutdown going for quite a while. I think Trump is truly hoping that he's going to, that the Ds and the deep state players, the central bankers, they're going to keep the shutdown going past 61 days, because I do believe that is the magic number where he can drain the swamp. But again, the Ds, they want to keep it shut down as long as possible, because this will give them ammunition to bring the economic system down and try to put a lot of pressure on what Trump is trying to do with many other agendas. And you could see that Trump is now using all of this against them. And we'll be talking a lot more about that in the next report. But think about it. The central bankers right now, they're trying to stop the lowering of the interest rates because they know once Trump gets the interest rates where he wants them, the economy is going to boom like we've never seen before. And everything is going to turn against the Federal Reserve because everything that they're trying to do, it's going to show the American people that they were completely and utterly wrong. Just like they were wrong about the transient inflation, just like they were wrong about, hey, Biden's economy strong, just like they were wrong about everything because, again, they're not here to benefit the American people. So to counter the shutdown right now, it looks like the Trump administration will release a critical inflation report later this month. So basically, he's going to have the agency put out a report in regards to inflation. Why would he do this right now? Because he knows that he needs to counter the Federal Reserve. He knows that he needs to show the American people that, look, inflation is holding steady. There's no reason for the Federal Reserve to keep the rates where they are. They can lower them again. He's now trying, or he's going to counter everything the shutdown is trying to do. And this is not going to work out too well for the deep state, the central bankers. Now, think about it. During the shutdown and everything that China is doing, we could see that there's one asset or one currency that is, and that's been around for 5,000 plus years or even longer, that is actually holding steady. And we'll be talking about that in just a sec. But you could see that there are more and more financial institutions that are now jumping on board with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, because I do believe Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, gold, and silver, they're going to play a major, major role in the new economy that is coming. Bitcoin Magazine put this out and said $8 trillion Morgan Stanley to allow their clients to invest in Bitcoin and crypto. And we're starting to see a lot of financial institutions, they're allowing the people to take their investments and invest in Bitcoin and crypto. Now, think about it. The deep state, the central bankers, they've been trying to stop people from investing in cryptocurrency because, again, they couldn't control it, not like gold. See, they used the paper markets for gold to control the price of gold to drive people away. But they were having a much more difficult time with cryptocurrency because, again, they don't have the control over cryptocurrency. They didn't have the time to get control, so they tried to use the idea that only criminals use it to try to drive people away. But you can see at this point in time, it is not working whatsoever. And if you look at Russia, for example, the Russian deputy finance minister says an estimated 20 million people are using Bitcoin and crypto in Russia. He says we need our own infrastructure to have both economic and technological benefits. So I do believe in the future, what we're going to see is we're going to see a lot of countries, they're going to be using crypto and Bitcoin. I do believe they're going to be using this for international trade. Are they going to have gold in their economies? Of course they are. Gold has been around for thousands upon thousands of years. It builds confidence, and gold is a hedge against everything the central bank has always been trying to do. And you can see that central banks across the world, they have crossed a symbolic line. Their combined gold reserves now exceed their U.S. Treasury holdings for the first time in nearly 3 decades. The crossover underscores a gradual diversification away from the dollar-denominated securities and toward hard assets. So you have to ask the question, why is the central bankers, why are they going back to gold? Now remember, here in the United States, yes, we have gold. In other countries, they keep gold in their central banks. Now, why isn't the central bankers, why aren't they ramping up on fiat currency? Because this tells you everything you need to know. Because, again, gold is the money. Their pieces of paper are not the money. They use that to trick you to think this is the currency that you need to use. But truly, when you really look at it, you could see that, once again, it's always been gold. After the end of Bretton Woods, soaring real interest rates and the rise of the petrodollar steered reserve managers toward U.S. Treasuries through the 80s and the 90s. In the 2000s, the dollar depth and liquidity reinforced that preference. Since 2022, however, heavy official gold buying has picked up again. 1,136 tons in 2022, a record, with 2023 and 2024 maintaining historically strong accumulation. The trend is even more striking considering that nearly 1/5 of the gold ever mined is now held by central banks. So the question is, why are they holding so much gold? Because they know that the end of the fiat system is coming. They know that there's going to be a transformation across the world. And once again, they know that the paper currency doesn't hold a value. And if you notice, since Trump has been placing tariffs on like China and many other countries, and he actually ramped it up on China, yes, the market dipped a little bit, but I do believe probably as the new week comes after Columbus Day, I do believe what's going to happen is you're probably going to, and China's starting to back off a little bit, you probably see the market bump up a little bit. I'm not saying it's going to skyrocket, but I do believe it's going to take a turn. Remember, the central bankers didn't want this to happen. They wanted the market to fall. Maybe it'll come down a little bit in the very beginning, but I do believe as time goes on, I do believe you're probably going to see it bump up a little bit. But think about it. Since something happened with China, what did we see? We saw the market go down. Bitcoin dropped a little bit. Oil went down a little bit. What is one thing that actually went up? When you really look at it, it looks like gold actually went up. And gold is hedging against everything. So this should tell you everything you need to know. And since now we have countries ramping up on gold, you could see gold is the currency. And I do believe Bitcoin, yes, Bitcoin is very good to use. It's electronic. You can use it across the world. It's on a ledger. You can't really manipulate it that much. And you could see that I think having gold locally in every single country, using Bitcoin to basically transition the gold currency into Bitcoin, to use this as international trade and then back into your local currency if you like to. I think this is going to be very, very important moving into the future. But once again, you could see the deep state players, the central bankers, they were definitely trying to bring down the economic system with this announcement. They were trying to bring down the markets. I think this is why Jamie Dimon mentioned this. They were trying to stop the Federal Reserve from lowering the rates by having the shutdown. I think this is all connected. And I think Trump at this point is now countering everything that they're trying to do. And everything they're trying to do is not going to work. Remember, who has all the leverage? Trump, we the people here in the United States, we are the consumer. So basically, the consumer, just like anything else, is saying, listen, we're not going to go along with this. And if you're going to try to do this, well, we're going to tax you. That's pretty much what the tariff is. We're going to tax you very, very hard. Go ahead. Try to do this. Your sales are going to go down. We're not going to be using your rare earth minerals. We will then ramp up production in this country. It might take us a little while, but we will do it. And we will look at other countries to get this type of products. And you can see that in the end, any country that tries to go up against the United States, it is not going to work. And I think Trump is proving this every single time. And I think that Trump, with the new parallel economic system, the central bankers are having a very difficult time controlling the complete implosion of their economic system, because they want to implode their system. Trump is stopping them every step of the way with the parallel economic system. And they're having a very difficult time because, again, he can run, I think, the country right now using the parallel system. I mean, is it going to be perfect? No. But he can counter a lot of the things that they're trying to do, especially with his tariff system that is in place, because he's proved, look, there's no inflation. And he's going to have a report that's going to be issued showing there's no inflation to counter everything the central bank is trying to do here. And in the end, the central bank, they're going to fold. And Trump and we, the people, are going to win once again. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.